Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more sports news, NFL news. Chiefs player Charles Omenihu believes Patrick Mahomes will be on a revenge tour after losing the Super Bowl to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, initially, when I saw this article, I thought, why was it news? Because that's a normal reaction to losing, or it should be a normal reaction to losing, especially when you put in so much effort and time and you lose on such a big stage like that. That's the biggest stage sports wise that you can have, probably next to, the World Series or the Olympics or something like that. So it's a natural reaction, I would think, to want to get back, you know, revenge for what happened, especially losing in that fashion. And it's not the first time it happened to Mahomes. Of course, he lost the same way or in a similar fashion to Tampa Bay earlier in his career. But just getting back to where he wants to get to, there's a lot of different things that it comes along with trying to do that. But you're left with that pain for at least a year. So when you lose in the Super Bowl in February, the season doesn't start back until September, middle of September. You can't go back to the Super Bowl till around that same time in February. So you're stuck with that for a year. So a lot's on your mind, and you have to go through a lot of ups and downs before that time. And then the Chiefs had a lot of ups this year, and it ended bad, similar to what the New England Patriots did when they went on that undefeated run and lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. This was similar to that. You had all your ducks in a row, and then you just fell short. And it's very, it's sad to see that from that team because, all year you've been dominant. You only lost like 2 games the whole year. So it's been very dominating. You thought you had it in the bag, but at the end of the day, the stronger team prevailed. But I think from Mahomes, this is his first time dealing with this. Is like I talked about, he lost to the Patriots and Tom Brady in that AFC Championship game at home because the guy was offside and they didn't get to the championship. They thought they had it, but the guy was offside. Even, Tom Brady threw a pick that got negated from that offsides as well. So it was a very tough loss, but we knew he was a young player and he'll be back, in better than what he was. And then that next year, he went on to beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And then the next year, he lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. And then ultimately, he lost to the Bucks, but then he beat the Eagles. So, he had ups and downs, mostly ups. But to get back to that, to get that revenge back, he's going to need to talk to the front office. That's going to be the biggest thing. It's just not on Mahomes. It's about the pieces that are around him. Now, that big story or the big point of contention is that offensive line, similar to what he went to in that Tampa Bay Super Bowl. He's going to have to fix that offensive line. They're going to have to get new pieces. Is he going to have to restructure his contract to free up some money to get another player? Because those type of players are expensive, especially in the position that they need at left tackle. Joe Tooney did a good job, but he's naturally a guard. He pretty much got took advantage of in that Super Bowl, as most of the players did. But to get that left tackle is very expensive. That's the most important position in football next to the quarterback. So can they go out there and get that? And they had that in Orlando Brown, who ended up leaving, going to the Bengals. And they had, a couple other pieces that they could have fixed. But I'm not sure where they're spending the money. They're really only paying Chris Jones, Kelsey, and uh, um, Patrick Mahomes. They're not paying a lot of players. They have a lot of young stars who are not going to demand big paydays. So the front office is what has to fix this so he can get that revenge on other teams. Now, will I think he'll be back to the Super Bowl? I think so. But like I said, a lot of teams are still gunning for the Chiefs because they thought that they got favorable calls with the thing, with the whole media around Travis Kelce and the Taylor Swift situation. There was a lot going on, and they became villainous, similar to what the New England Patriots did. Um, and just thinking about that Super Bowl, uh, you know, they have the draft coming up. They have free agency coming up. Are they going to be able to spend the money or make the right decisions to get those pieces around Mahomes? Because the defense didn't play really that bad. The offensive line was what really ultimately lost them the game. And then Mahomes did make some turnovers as a result of that pressure that he got from that defensive line from the Eagles. But it was shocking to see because Andy Reid is usually a master of adjustments. So after that second half, after halftime, He did make some adjustments. They got some more points, but it was in garbage time. The game was pretty much decided after, that first drive in the third quarter. They really didn't do too much. But I also thought about how, Patrick Mahomes is a product of Andy Reid. Andy Reid has made quarterbacks better throughout his career. He's not won championships, but he just needed somebody who wasn't a game manager who can get the ball downfield and have some explosiveness to the team. So I think if Patrick Mahomes would have never got drafted to the Chiefs, he would have had the same, he would probably had the MVPs, but I don't think he would have had the postseason success. He wouldn't have the championships. He wouldn't have, you know, all of the accolades that he has. He might only have one MVP, but I think Andy Reid and him was a perfect combination opposed to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I think Bill Belichick needed Tom Brady, even though Tom Brady wasn't always that player and he developed into one. But clearly you can see when Tom Brady left, Belichick wasn't the same. Tom Brady got another ring. He went to a Super Bowl. He had deep postseason success, but ultimately, we saw who was responsible for all the winning that was in New England. Similar to Kansas City, if Mahomes for whatever leaves and goes to Cleveland, or he goes to one of these lesser tier teams, and Andy Reid gets in, for example, he gets Justin Herbert or somebody like that, I think he can duplicate the success. But I don't think Mahomes will be successful in any other arena. It all depends on where he goes. If he goes to anywhere else, if he doesn't go to one of these top tier teams, Cleveland, New Orleans, or something like that, he won't look the same. Andy Reid, I think, is responsible for the success. Mahomes is talented, and he needs the puppet master, who is Andy Reid. And it even showed in college. Patrick Mahomes in college, he was putting up these big numbers, but he wasn't winning much. He was, wasn't even making bowl games for the most part. But Andy Reid, his coaching and his creativity on offense to get you around anywhere. But unfortunately, they didn't have an offensive line in the Super Bowls that they lost, or they could have did probably more. But, for the most part, I think it's Andy Reid's genius that ultimately propelled them to the success that they had. So thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. Until next time, I'll see you next time.